Okay, today we have a really bizarre camera. It's called an AKAREX, AKAREX, I guess you would say. This one I got at a pawn shop, and it was because it was $15 and they just wanted to get rid of it. I think they wanted $50 for it, and I said, no one's going to buy that, I'll give you $15. And they go, take it, please, get it out of here. This is a unusual design because the lens is connected to the viewfinder. So this piece comes off with this piece all in one attachment, and when you buy a new lens, you buy a new viewfinder. Do you see how that's called connected? So it's a rangefinder camera. The rangefinder is working on it. It's got a nice, rather smooth, maybe slightly tight, but a pretty smooth focus. It's got an aperture ring here, and it's got a shutter speed ring over here, and it works well. The shutter seems to be accurate. I can test it at actually it looks like the shutter is a little bit tight to change it, but here's 1/100th of a second versus it's really tight to change it. So again, that's the kind of thing, it's like, you know, it's a bargaining chip. I don't need to get it down to 1/10 of a second very often, but it sounds like the shutter is working. Do you hear that? Definitely not a 5/100th of a second when it sounds like that, when you can hear two distinctive changes. Yeah, but really, really hard to move, boy. All right, so I'm not going to keep forcing it, but it does move. I probably would shoot this camera, get it back to a 500, and then shoot it at a sunny day at 500 at f/16. Why do you say that? Well, I know the sunny 16 rule says I can shoot 400 speed film at a 500th of a second at f/16 in bright light, but there's something up with these apertures. On this lens, it's got a 50mm Schneider xenon lens, which I'm like, oh, that sounds good, it's a Schneider lens. But unfortunately, the Schneider lens, if I can take this lens hood off, which I think is really cool, look at that thing. Is that Boss or what? If I take that off, I can show you, I think, inside the viewfinder, or I'm sorry, inside the lens, the aperture blades are screwy. As I open them up, they don't open up uniformly. They'll close down the f/16 uniformly, if you can see that. When I open them up, they kind of open up in a weird shape, and something's up with them. I wouldn't trust them completely. They probably would take a picture, but at f/16, they're a perfectly round circle. And this whole thing is real wobbly and loose. You can see that. So something's up with this whole apparatus, but for $15, I'm not going to put any money into fixing it. I'm going to shoot it. And at f/16, since the aperture is circular and correct, I wish it was a little stiffer. I could actually leave it there, and then I would just change the shutter speed. Of course, I need to bring a glove to change it because it's so hard to change, but this isn't a camera that you go out with and you shoot because you're going to enjoy shooting with limited apertures and hard to change shutter speeds. Don't pay more than $15 for this because I'm still trying to get this shutter up to a 500 so I can shoot on a sunny day. It looks like I'm going to have to only get it to 100, and I'm going to have to stay outside and only shoot it on a cloudy day. That's the sunny 16 rule for you. You got to work with what the rule says as far as proper exposure at f/16. So anyway, that's the AKAREX. To take the lens off, you turn this apparatus, and then this whole piece comes off. And then you can buy different lenses. So you could, if you could get that shutter to turn a little bit more easily, you could clean the back element of the lens easily enough. And let me see if I can show you that shutter, that aperture. I'm trying to figure out which way to hold it. If you can see, it's just not, it doesn't close properly. It closes kind of off-centered, and the shutter blades look like they're kind of, sometimes they'll like kind of get stuck on each other. So you can buy new lenses for these, but they're expensive when I've seen them on eBay. I wouldn't put any money into this. This isn't worth that much. Then you just turn this little knurled knob over and it locks it back on. So if you find one of these, they're kind of cool. They're made in Germany. It's got a Schneider lens. I'm sure the contrast is probably pretty good on this. I think it's fun. I think it's cool looking. It's got all this like patina from brassing, and it's really, you know, kind of a big old tank of a camera. It's heavy. Has this Boss lens hood. Did I use the word Boss twice in this one? Anyway, I think it's kind of a cool thing, again, for a cheap kind of a purchase, kind of a toy. Great display piece, if not an actual user. But it's the AKAREX, has a big name right on top. I kind of like them for some things, and like I said, I like the feel of it. And if it was working perfectly without fighting it, keep it on f/16 if you have aperture blades that aren't closing and opening properly. This one is closed down. It does look like it's the proper shape. And then check your shutter speeds. They shouldn't be this hard to change. I got it back up to 100, so I'm heading out on a cloudy day. Thanks for watching. I'll have more camera reviews for you, and I'd love to hear what you're finding and picking up. Put them in the comments below. If you have one of these, what do you think of it? Have you used it? And we see some pictures from it? All right, that's the AKAREX and 50mm f2 Schneider. I'll see you next time with more cameras. Thanks for watching.